Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
My friends, welcome back to podcast 32 of 2020, and this would be our 221st episode in year 4. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow us on Twitter at The Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media /The Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by Yuuwager.eu. For a 50% sign-up bonus, please visit Yuuwager. Use the promo code ODDSBREAKERS. Terms and conditions and location apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, sponsor the podcast and the website, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com and click shop and become a member. For $17.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. It's Belmont week, my friends, and we have a loaded lineup because we have Chris Fallica, the Bear from ESPN College Game Day, and Marco D'Angelo from Wager Talk to help us break down the Belmont Stakes. Super excited to talk to those guys as usual. You know, the Major League Baseball has still not come to an arrangement between the players and the coaches. And yeah, I know I harp on them a little bit every single week, but to be honest with you, this looks like that the new collective bargaining that was going to happen in 2021 to sign another contract between the owners and the union, it looks like that was going to be a disaster as well, because you can see a lot of bad feelings come out of this. You know, the owners, of course, are not going to disclose their books, meaning that they're a private entity. What I should say is the teams are private entities, and the MLB is just the organization that governs these teams. What makes it a lot messier is you have teams like the Dodgers that have 3 companies or more running the whole business. You'll have a separate LLC or company that does the parking lot. You'll have a separate company that does the ticket sales and the concessions. And you have a separate company that does the TV rights and revenues from that. So that really makes it a lot bigger of a guessing game for the players' union. So we have to assume that the union thinks that these teams as a whole are making a lot more than they think they are, right? And so they're trying to get a bigger piece of the pie, even though they're losing sales and concessions and ticket sales, parking, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where it looks like it's going to be a huge mess anyway in 2021. Now, it's hurting the sport, but the biggest question is who's bluffing, right? Who's bluffing here? Is it the owners? Are they going to really take a bigger loss than people think? And I think that's what the players' union is betting on. They think the owners will have to give in, possibly even to make no money and break even, just to play the players and get some baseball going. It protects the integrity of the sport, too, for future years. So they have a bargaining chip right there. And the owners, I mean, we have to remember that most of them are billionaires anyway. And maybe they can hold out a year and rely on their other businesses, right? Just to prove a point. But it's just looking like it's setting up for an awful 2021. You know, it's hard to speculate on how much your boss makes or how much the company you work at makes when it's not a publicly traded company. It's hard to speculate that. But at the same time, you have to understand where your value is, and maybe you are part of the reason why this company is making so much money. And that's where the problem is in society of deciding what's fair and what isn't, right? I mean, then you can get into a whole discussion on how democracy is run and how capitalism is run and the pros and cons of all of that. But unfortunately, that's the reality of the MLB right now, is that they're almost fighting the actual system in America more than they're fighting the actual owners itself. And there's probably a lot more that can be said about that. But I think no matter what situation they're going to be in, owners, players in this country or any other country, there's never going to be complete happiness. So you just got to find balance. And right now, there is absolutely no balance going on. Am I optimistic that the season's going to happen? I'm a little bit optimistic. I think something's going to happen where both sides are going to be like, look, we can probably give a little here, but I don't think there's going to be anywhere near 79 or 80 games. I think there's going to be maybe like 30 to 50 games. And if they don't get something decided by maybe third week of July, then this season, to me, is in some serious trouble.
No matter what. Business bad? Fuck you, pay me. Oh, you had a fire? Fuck you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? Fuck you, pay me.
All right, and now let's get into our guests, Mr. Chris Fallica and Marco D'Angelo. Now I'm very happy to welcome back some royalty in the sports betting and horse racing world. You know them as Mr. Marco D'Angelo from WagerTalk.com and the Pony Pundit Show, and Chris Fallica from ESPN College Game Day and Stanford Steve and the Bear Podcast. Guys, thanks so much for coming back on to talk about this huge race. An amazing card this weekend at Belmont Park here. How's the last few weeks been treating you guys? And I'll start with Marco.
Well, for me, it's been all horse racing all summer. There's been nothing else going there. Just happy that we've got tracks other than Will Rogers and Fauner Park to bet with. And me personally, as you guys know, I own horses, and my track in Pennsylvania, we were last to the party getting back to racing, but this week the Meadows in Pennsylvania opened up, and my big horse, the only horse I got racing right now, she won right out of the gate after the 3-month layoff. So it's been a good week for me in that regard.
Yeah, I saw your tweet there. That's fantastic. And Chris, man, it seems like you guys are, you and Steve are getting back rolling here. How you been doing?
Yeah, we've been doing good. It's Thursday afternoon right now, and we just recorded something earlier today that I posted up, some soccer picks with Nigel Seeley from over in London. We had Big Cat on to talk about his championship game tonight. But it's funny, like Marco, I'm looking forward to the return of Soul Street on Monday at Indiana Grand. He hasn't run since Derby weekend last year. He had a lot of time off, and he's an Indiana bred. So Bob found and Baffert found a nice spot for him. He's in the care of Tom Amos right now, so he'll be going Monday in an allowance race over in Indiana Grand. So hopefully we can win right off of the bench like Marco did.
Well, there you go. Hope so, man. I'll pay attention to that one. There's a photo of you and Steve floating around Twitter right now. Doesn't look quite the same. I don't know if Marco got a chance to see it, but
yeah, I hope he didn't. He's not missing anything.
now I got to start.
Yeah, just hope you didn't eat with him the last 2 hours or so before you see it. Yeah, and next time I'm going to get a glamour shot like that, I need a little bit of heads up just to make sure I can get the forearms waxed just before the picture's taken there.
It's a beautiful thing. I think I spit my food out as soon as I saw it. All I want to say is thank God you guys came into this world as men. That's all I have to say about that. But I did retweet that thing. It was fantastic there. But let's get right into this awesome weekend here, guys. Awesome weekend for us. Bob Baffert, not necessarily terrible past couple weeks here. First news about Nadal being shut down was awful, right? And then now, saw about a week ago or so, Charlton something happened to him. Marco, can you explain what is going on with the Baffert horses here?
Yeah, well, Nadal had a colander fracture, which is probably the most common injury in thoroughbred racing. I've actually been unlucky enough to have one in harness racing, and what happens is a horse gets a fracture generally above the ankle, but it's in the cannon bone, and it'll go down towards the ankle. And why it's called a colander fracture is sometimes it'll spiral, and that's can be life-threatening at that point. Fortunately, they were able to put screws in. The horse, they're going to retire him for stud. They really don't have anything else to prove with the horse, so no reason to try to bring him back. They could have if they wanted to, but they're not going to do that. Now, story is after the Arkansas Derby, word leaked out, and I say leaked out because generally this doesn't go public until they do a second sample. After the first test, there were 2 horses out of the Bob Baffert barn that tested positive after the Arkansas Derby, and one of the horses was charlatan, and the drug in question was lidocaine. Now, for people not familiar with lidocaine, it is a very potent numbing agent. In fact, it's almost like a nerve block, and it's used by veterinarians a lot to try to determine lameness on a horse. A lot of times, a horse can't tell you where they're hurting. You know the horse is off, but you don't know if it's the foot or the ankle or cannon bone, or if it's all the way up to the knee. And what vets will do is they'll apply, lidocaine. They'll start at the foot. They'll put some in there, and then have the horse, go out on a little jog, and they'll watch the horse go. If the horse is now sound, they know then the problem was in the foot. If the horse is still sore, then they keep working their way up the leg. They'll do the ankle next and so forth until the horse is sound, and then they know that's the area to x-ray, and then if they're going to inject the horse and so forth, that's where they do it. Now, the second part of this is a few weeks later, charlatan comes up sore in the ankle, and I think the two are tied together. Obviously, if you think about it, you connect all of the dots. The horse had a late start to the year. Would benefited from the Derby being later in the year. They didn't have to try to rush him to get him on the Derby trail. Makes his debut in the Arkansas Derby, tests positive for lidocaine, and then a few weeks later, Baffert shutting him down because he's got a problem in the ankle. There's something floating in there, most likely a bone chip. Minor surgery, he'll be back. But it all ties together to me, the whole, if I'm, a CSI investigator or whatever, that's all the information I need. It all connects for me. I don't know how Chris thinks about it, but that's the way I see it.
No, I agree with you. And I think one thing to kind of advance it a little bit is another one of his horses that weekend at Arkansas wound up testing positive for that as well. And I believe it was Gummy, the very talented filly, who was going to be going in the Acorn on Saturday as well. So I'm curious to see how she runs, if indeed she was having an injury compensated for with a heavy painkiller like that. She could, A, hopefully she's okay, but B, there's a chance that she could potentially be a very beatable favorite in that Acorn at even money from the rail.
Wow,
guys, the big problem within that's one of the questions you had on the list. One of the races that I was looking forward to. Chris alluded to it to see how that horse runs, being the other horse with the positive test. But why this drug is so it's a great drug to use for a horse, but not when they're racing. And the reason for that is because it's for the safety of the horse and the jockeys. The problem that can happen when you're nerving a horse like this is that obviously the horse doesn't feel the pain. When the horse doesn't have the painkiller and feels the pain, most of the time the horse is going to protect himself. But if he doesn't feel it, he's not protecting himself, and that's where you can get those catastrophic injuries where the bone just breaks and the horse goes down, and then, you're talking about the horse's well-being, but more importantly, I mean, not to diminish the horse's well-being, but you've got the jockey on that particular horse, and everybody that's behind him in the race, and that's where you get these serious injuries, and that's why there's such penalties for using drugs of that nature on race days.
Wow, so basically the conspiracy theories are flowing here for Mr. Baffert a little bit. It's a big hit for him, isn't it? This caliber.
Absolutely, and it's a no-win situation for him with the other horse, Gamine. If she performs poorly, everybody's going to be out there. Well, see, you were drugging the horse. That's why the horse was racing so well. And then if the horse does race well, there's still going to be questions. Well, what did you use this time? Right.
So obviously, they could be covering up this conspiracy for a different drug, not just that. Is what people are thinking, correct?
Absolutely, always. Horse racing is the biggest conspiracy theory game out there.
Well, that's a good answer. Thank you for that. It's really interesting to see what happens if Charlton can make it back to the Preakness. Apparently, it's going to be a scratch in the Derby from what I'm hearing, too. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of circling Charlton for this event, but obviously it's not going to happen here. And and then we'll talk a little bit about Tiz The Law here. But before that, since I have you guys on, I'd be awfully hard-pressed to not ask you at least one or two questions about college football or the NFL here. I'm going to start with you, Chris. Which college team do you think will have some value coming into the season that could possibly fly under the radar and go maybe a 2 or 3-0 against the spread the first 3 games? So basically, based on power ratings, like maybe you're power rating this team higher than the general market. Do you have one in mind?
Gosh, I can't say I've examined the early parts of the schedules that much in detail. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. I do think there are, on the flip side, I'll give you a team that I have looked at the schedule and I think could be on the opposite end of that spectrum. And that's North Carolina. I think the Tar Heels have a ton of hype entering the season, and rightly so with the way they finished the year and Sam Howell coming back and those receivers. But if you look at their schedule early on, they got a couple of games early in there. They got UCF, and they're not exactly a team that is still going to beat you up just by stepping on the field and out-talent you. Like there's a really good chance that the Tar Heels open the season 1-2, and a lot of those goals and ACC title game sleepers could be out the window early on. So I think North Carolina could be a team that I would tread a little bit carefully with the Tar Heels early on.
No, that's a great answer. Fading, just like you said, is a great answer as well, because they are going to come into this season here with a ton of hype, with the kind of swag that their quarterback showed last year in Sam Howell. So that's a great answer. Marco, have you got a chance to look at any of the schedules?
Well, I'll tell you, a team that I think, and I don't know that they can go 3-0 out of the gate, because if they win the first one, then I think everybody's going to pick up on the value. But the team I'm going to talk about to take a look at, and I know, Kiev, you're a guy that follows the Big Ten with that Wisconsin team you like over there, but Northwestern is a team that they're just 2 years winning the Big Ten West division easily, and last year they fell on hard times. And they're bringing back, though, this year, and if you remember last year, their quarterback play was just, there's no way to put it. It was atrocious last year, right. Their quarterback play. Mm-hmm. They bringing back 19 returning starters plus 2 transfers that are going to start, including transferring over quarterback Ramsey's coming in here. This is a spot where I think early on Northwestern might be flying under the radar, and they're going to have a big game early on with Michigan State. and it's be a spot where they might be some really good value with them catching points and so forth. So Northwestern's my team to on the lookout in the Big Ten.
Well, I thought you guys were going to both say the Badgers, of course, but unfortunately, I can't get so.
That was our national title pick. We're waiting for that.
Yeah. What was that about national titles?
No, I said we haven't gotten to our national title picks yet. It's where we're going to talk about Wisconsin, right?
Oh, exactly. Well, that's the next podcast, Chris. So we'll discuss it. But no, in all truth, here I have a team that I looked at, and it's the Cal Bears for me that I think could have some against the spread value. Last year they had a really interesting. They had a 4-0 start. Their quarterback was hurt for the hardest of the season. Mid-season, he went out, and this backup, Devin Modster, did terrible. Absolutely terrible. And then if you look at Devin Modster's 50% completion percentage, 5-5 TD to interception ratio, when the starter, Chase Garbers, was a 14-3 TD to interception ratio, 61% completion percentage. But I like how they finished the year when he came back, winning at Stanford, winning at UCLA, and then beating Illinois by 15 points in their bowl game. I thought that was just a nice pickup. And what I really like is you look at the returning production, and I love looking at Bill Connelly's articles on ESPN there. They are number one in offensive returning production at 93%. They are number 105 at 50% on defense. The reason I'm not worried about defense is because Justin Wilcox is their coach. And that man is a defensive guru. I've seen him as a Badger defensive coordinator in the 2012-2013 type era, and he did a fantastic job. So I'm not worried about that part, and I love the fact they're returning all that production. So I think they could be a little sneaky there. Looking at their schedule, they play UNLV, and I believe it's in the new stadium there, right? On August 29th, Marco, maybe? I'm pretty sure that is.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then they get TCU at home, and then they get Cal Poly, and that's on the 12th. So they could literally do some damage there. Have you guys got a chance to look at them?
You know, Cal's a team. Like you hit on the Garbers injury last year, and that really derailed their offense. The only thing I would worry about with Cal, and you mentioned Justin Wilcox, the defensive guy that is, they did lose. I mean, that secondary was really, really good. And in a pass-happy Pac-12 conference, you wonder if the guys replacing all those great players they have in the secondary are going to step in right away and perform up the stump. And how Cal is going to do with some expectations this year. I mean, you hit on it. I mean, there's a school of thought out there that they could maybe compete in the Pac-12 tournament because they get Oregon and UW and Stanford at home. So I mean, they get the big boys from the Pac-12 North in Berkeley. So they're a team that is not going to be taken for granted, I think, this year by a lot of those teams in the Pac-12. So we'll see how the Bears can do with some expectations this year.
All right, then. Well, that's good. That's good information. They will be young on defense. Good call there. Any thoughts on the Heisman Trophy there, Chris? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah. No. I think obviously no one's gonna. I mean, I shouldn't say no one. Someone obviously will bet Trevor Lawrence, bet Justin Fields. I mean, they're the obvious two front runners of two of the best teams in the country. But I think there might be a little bit of a value on a player. If you're looking for someone completely off the board, like Joe Burrow was at the start of last year, an uncommon name out there that I haven't really heard. And I would take a look at Jalen Waddle from Alabama. I know he's a wide receiver. I know he's a return guy. But Alabama, Mac Jones is not going to win the Heisman Trophy. I don't think Alabama is going to have a running game with one back to really focus on and put in that Heisman Trophy forefront. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be a massive part of their offense, obviously, and a massive part of on special teams, returning kicks. You saw what he did in the Auburn game last year. So I think while a true wide receiver, the odds of one of those winning the Heisman Trophy are slim. I saw him posted, I think, somewhere around 75 or 80 to 1 to win the Heisman Trophy. But if you're looking at Waddle as a guy who's going to wind up, maybe he returns a couple kicks for touchdowns in some big games. Maybe he averages 15, 16, 17 yards a catch. Maybe he has a huge impact in not just returning kicks, but in field position as well. I think he's a guy for a team that is going to have one loss, two losses at most, and be in college football playoff contention that isn't going to have a quarterback up for the award, I wouldn't think, nor a bell cow running back like the normally do. I think Waddle is a name that maybe you focus on with Alabama this year.
Wow, I don't even remember when the last wide receiver who won the Heisman was.
Woodson got some snaps at wide receiver, and but it was really his defensive. But I mean, Larry Fitzgerald was the one that should have won the year that Jason White won the award. But Waddle could be a guy that maybe could wind up at least getting invited to New York this year.
Well, that would be awesome, and maybe you can just bet on that too. And anything with like those huge odds, I love hearing about. So good stuff there. Anything on that, Marco? And it could be NFL too. MVP.
Going to the NFL, I do have two things that I like. For me, I'll just say quickly for the Heisman, I don't like to tie my money up, in the middle of summer on those type of wagers. What I do with the Heisman is I'll generally buy a few future tickets after the second game of the season, because generally what's going to happen is, because the way they schedule everything, and the big schools like to put the little sisters of the poor up front, guys that have big names going in their favorites are going to be even bigger favorites after the first 2 weeks, because they're going to put up monster numbers. And I've got to see a couple weeks of action where some of those guys that are off the radar watch their games and say, you know what, this guy's got a shot, all the attention's going to be going to these other places. And then I'll make a few wagers that way and try to find, some value. And I'm only tying my money up then from, the third week of September on for a wager like that. But as far as the NFL goes, I have two things for you in the NFL. And one of them, I got to give credit to our guy, Ralph Michaels, for this one. There's a little bit of buzz going around a team that you know a little bit about there, Kiev. Provided the whole state's not shut down for COVID, Arizona. This is a team that, Murray had, better than expected. Nobody expected him to put up the numbers that he did last year as the first year quarterback in the NFL. A quarterback that until, the second half of his senior year, or his last year in college, was still going to baseball. He wasn't even going to football.
Sure.
And then, of course, Kingsbury, the rookie coach and everything, they made a little bit of noise last year. So automatically...
You still there, Marco?
40-1.
Oh, there he is.
To win the and so they're down to 20-1. And that's just insane. But if you want to throw a few dollars on Arizona, here's a little better way to do it. Why not bet Kingsbury for Coach of the Year? Because obviously, if they win the NFC, there's no question he's going to be the Coach of the Year. Also get the luxury of maybe if they make the playoffs and win a game or two, he still could be Coach of the Year. And instead of 20-1, you're getting 30-1 on Kingsbury for Coach of the Year. So that's a different way to play if you're looking at Arizona. But the sleeper team that I'm going to give you is I'm going to take a team to win a division. And I'm going to take Atlanta at 12-1. And I think that is way too high for this Atlanta team. Everybody obviously has New Orleans as the favorite, based on what they did last year. And then you throw Tampa Bay into the mix because of the Brady factor, and they're overbetting them because of Brady. Atlanta is a team that year in and year out, they have the talent, they have the offense to do things. I think 12-1 is way too high on them. That would be my pick for a sleeper for some value to win the third division.
I like it. That's anything over 10-1 to win a division. You definitely have to take a look at it. And I did take the Arizona Cardinals to the division earlier when there was more value on them. I looked at the NFL MVP, and when I wrote this question down for you guys, I wanted to take Kyler Murray, and I looked, and it's 12-1. I expected something a little bit better than that. I don't think 12-1 is a proper price on Kyler Murray to win the MVP. I think it should be 20-1. And so I don't have anything on this. And so I'm glad I asked you guys some thoughts on that. If anything, I guess I would have to go with Patrick Mahomes at 4-1, gun to the head, just because Lamar Jackson, he won it last year, but they're also a power rushing offense. At least Kansas City's got the more finesse offense. I guess that would be the only one I would look at, but I think there's a lot of places that have some poor prices, and I think shopping's always the best thing you can do if you want to get into that market. So great call also, Marco, on wait until week 1 or 2 to bet the NCAA. Great ideas. The best favorites are going to pound the little sisters of the poor tomato cans, like you say, and then some other teams are going to shine a little bit later. So wait till those odds get a little sweeter for you. Well, let's get into what we came for, and that is the Belmont Stakes here. This Belmont Stakes is going to be looking a lot different than what we've seen before. Chris, what is different about this race?
Well, obviously, it's for the first time, it's the first jewel of the Triple Crown, which I think everybody sees and understands, and why it's that way. But I think people also have heard about the distance now being no longer 1.5 miles, but being run at 1.8 miles this year, and look, people can have their opinions on. The Belmont's a test of the champion. It needs to be 1.5 miles, but no, in Marco owning horses, there were not very many connections out there that were going to be willing to run their horses off of a non-traditional prep season with disrupted works, run them 1.5 miles out of the gate at this point in the year. That just wasn't going to happen. So I like the move to 1.5 miles. Tactically in the race, it does change things dramatically, though, because for those unfamiliar with Belmont Park, where they start at the 1.8 mile distance, it's not going to be a 2-turn route race, which most route races are 2 turns. However, at Belmont Park, the 1.8 mile starting point is all the way at the top of the backstretch. So they're going to start all the way at the top of that backstretch, have that long run down the backside, and then make the 1 turn before they come home. So that does change the dynamic and the tactics going into the race.
Absolutely. Marco, what are your thoughts on this, being 1.8 miles in 1 turn?
Well, it definitely obviously changes everything for the race. And whenever they first announced the Belmont date, I had seen the date, but I hadn't seen the distance yet. And I was scrambling to find somebody to put up the yes/no for would there be a Triple Crown winner this year. And that's always a very chalky bet, but I didn't care how chalky it was. I was going to pound that there would not be a Triple Crown winner simply because there would be horses that are going to skip the Derby or skip the Belmont because they don't want to go 1.5 miles, as Chris, pointed out early in the season. And then it is just so hard to keep a horse in peak form. For everybody talks about how hard it is to race 3 races over the 5-week stretch that you have for the traditional Triple Crown setup. Yes, that's hard, but it's a 5-week stretch. It is tougher, in my opinion, to keep a horse going at the right level of consistency from June, July, August, September, October, when you have the final leg. That is a long time to keep a horse sound. And as we've seen how many horses have fallen by the wayside already, Nadal, Charlatan, Maxfield, all these horses out of the Derby picture already, I was going to pound it. But now, so it made sense for them not to have the race the way they did at 1.5 miles, but you're still going to have horses, even though it's a Triple Crown race, it's the Belmont, it's the least prestigious of the 3. Face it, when the last leg of the Triple Crown comes and there's not a horse going for the Triple Crown, look at the handle, look at the TV ratings. Everything's, nothing's the same as when you're going for the Triple Crown. People want to win the Derby, and there'll be people that'll bypass this race because it's not right in their schedule for what they want to do for being ready that first Saturday in September. So that's the first part, and that's why I wanted to bet the no so much. But as the race is, we got to handicap what we've got, and what we've got is, I feel, a fairly competitive race, even though there's going to be a ton of money put on the favorite in this race, Tiz The Law. I think we're going to see it is pretty wide open. I can make a case for several horses, as we will do later on.
All right. Well, it looks like a great card overall. I think we have 6 graded stakes races here at Belmont Park, if I'm not mistaken. So this card looks like a very fun one to be on most of the races anyway. So I'm excited for that. And it looks like the weather's going to be okay here. I checked that this morning, 80 degrees and 20% chance of rain. So I'm kind of excited for that. That leads me into my next question. Is Tiz The Law a deserving favorite at 6-5? And what happened in his only loss? Chris, you can go first.
I think he is a deserving favorite. Obviously, the one loss came the only time he's run on an off track at Churchill Downs last fall, before being pointed towards the Gulfstream meet. I love the horse's versatility. I think he's shown he can win from being somewhat close to the pace, like he did in the Holy Bull and in the Florida Derby. I think he's shown he can win from off the pace, like he did in the Champagne at Belmont last October. I think the horse is definitely worth the goods at 6-5. Now, is he justify-ish type 6-5, where basically he's got to fall down to lose? No, I don't think he's that. But I will say I was a little bit surprised that he wasn't odds on in this race, and I think he probably will get bet down to somewhere in the 4-5 range.
Yeah, and if Nadal and Charlatan were in this race, he probably would have been the 5-1.
Or Maxfield as well. Maxfield was
right.
another horse.
Right.
They would all be right in that even money 6-5 type range. So obviously that would have made the race a little bit more competitive at the top, and made the rest of the field maybe some better odds there. But like Marco said, I think there are some interesting horses that if you don't want to try and beat Tiz The Law, at least you can make a case for a few to try and boost your exactas and tries.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And it was a sloppy track, and that's why I talked about the way I believe where he took third. It was Marco. Did you see where he in Churchill Downs, the only race out of his 5 races he didn't take first place? Did you get a chance to look at that one?
Yeah, I did. In that race, it was a horrible race for a young horse. As you pointed out, first off, he was in the slop at Churchill. And in that race, he was in tight the entire race, wrapped up, horses in front of him, horse on the inside of him, horse on the outside of him. And, generally speaking, that makes, younger horses, a lot of them don't like to be in close quarters. That's why you'll see a lot of times you'll ask, why is the jockey riding out wide the whole way? Well, the horse doesn't like being covered up. And when you're in a first time on mud, he's getting something else thrown into the mix. He's getting mud thrown in his face. So I give him, the pass on that particular race. Everything else he's done, he deserves to be the favorite because he's done nothing wrong. The only question is, and it's the question basically with every one of these horses, is what horse is beating good horses? Because everybody's fallen off the wayside. Nobody has been developed as the odds-on favorite. It would have, Nadal would have been the favorite. He's gone. Charlatan would have been one of the favorites. He's gone. The next one that I'm going to bring up makes me cry because I had a futures ticket on him before his last race because I said to my partner that does the Pony Pundits, we were talking about it, and we did this on Friday night before the race on Saturday, and said if Maxwell wins on Saturday in his return, his odds are going to pummel. They're just going to, he's going to become one of the favorites. He was sitting at Circa here in Las Vegas at 22-1. I had a futures bet on Maxfield at 22-1. And then obviously when Nadal and Charlatan went by the wayside, especially Nadal, it's like, wow, this ticket looks even better. And then unfortunately, as we all know, 22-1, it's like the guys say whenever they make a sports bet, well, I beat the closing number. Yeah, I beat the closing number, but I'm still ripping the ticket up.
Closing line value. Oh, we love that, don't we?
Yeah, Chris, I don't know how you feel, and I understand that term. It's that long term, if you're consistently beating the market, you're going to be a successful bettor. I understand that. But you know what? I would rather have a winning ticket at a bad number than a losing ticket at a good number. I just call me crazy, but that's just the way I am.
Closing line value it's the only time you don't buy back too when on the other side. So it just kind of feels like that. Of course, a little different with horse racing, but I've had tickets move a ton for me, and I decide not to buy back because I really think, I think they can win by 20, I lose. It's just always happens when that happens. So interesting. Yeah, Maxwell. Some bad luck there, and so you got Tiz The Law, and I remember that we talked about him. I think it was the Florida Derby where he won. He won convincingly. So I guess the next question would be, and we'll start with you, Marco. Are there any good sleepers or long shots that could hit the board here, or maybe even better?
Well, there's a few long shots that I like in here, but let's start at the where we want to do a pitch. And I just don't understand how this horse even got entered in this race, other than the fact that I guess the owner wants to see his name in a Triple Crown race. But I think Chris and I would have as much of a chance of winning the Belmont as Jungle Runner. This horse has gotten beat by a combined 60-some lengths, I think, in his last 3 races. Come on, guys. Why is he in this race? That's the first pitch. That's my hell no horse of the Belmont.
Can I interject one thing there? Because I have a theory. I have a theory on this. I'm sure you remember a couple of years ago when Destin appeared to be the only speed of the race, and Steve Asmussen had created the Dead Stone Cold Closer. They acquired Lynchburg prior to that race and entered Lynchburg in the race to kind of ensure a more livelier pace, which softened up Destin, and Creator got up late to win. Now, obviously, Jungle Runner hasn't shown a ton of speed, but I mean, you and I both know that there's never any funny business going on with Florida horse racing, and I would never accuse the connections of Jungle Runner entering a horse which has shown very little speed to all of a suddenly gun to the lead with 4 left and tap it to win and ensure a really lively pace at about an 8 to set it up for Pneumatic from off the pace. Now, you could never envision that scenario happening, right?
No.
So you're saying Jungle Runner's nickname for this race is Bugs Bunny? He's going to be a rabbit?
Exactly. He's in the race, but it's the uncoupled entry. I could be completely crazy for that, but you're right. The horse is a total throwout, but he might actually have a purpose in the race.
Suicide fractions, and you'd wonder if the other jockeys know that and just let him go for. I don't know, but that's a great theory there. So yeah, Jungle Runner. I looked at him too, and I was like, "What the heck is he doing in this race?" It threw me off. But Chris with his conspiracy theory is starting to tickle my interest. So very interesting there. Well, he's a throwout here, and I guess we can continue with that. Chris, is there any ones that you want to throw out?
Well, I cut Marco off and interjected with that. So if he had some other thoughts, I just want to
that's my throwout horse.
I think 4 left is a throwout as well. I think he's total sprint breeding. I think he was in this race because a lot of people thought that maybe Tap It to Win could be a lone speed scenario situation there at a mile and 1/8 in Wire the Field, and 4 left was looking to go in the Woody Stevens, the 7 furlong sprint race earlier in the day. And they probably saw that, hey, can we run? Would we rather run 4th in the Woody Stevens or maybe try and shoot for 5th in the Belmont or something like that? So who the heck knows? But a 4 left is another horse that doesn't need to be on your ticket in any way, shape, or form.
All right, we'll toss those two then. And who would be a good sleeper to hit the board?
Well, I hit on Pneumatic a little bit ago, and he certainly is one. But the other horse that I like here, who I think he might get a little bit forgotten about in the wagering, is Modernist. This horse won the Risen Star, 2 back, kind of in a front-running, one-pace, grinding type of win. And then the Louisiana Derby, his next start, he was eliminated at the post draw. He drew post 14, hung all the way outside, 4 or 5 wide around the track the entire way around. But if you watch the race, nobody made up any ground in the race. It was a merry-go-round type race between Wells Bayou and New York Traffic, who occupied the top 2 spots the entire way around. And Modernist, despite that draw and that trip, was only beaten 4 lengths. So I think now, with a better draw, a shorter distance, Belmont and Junior Alvarado had teamed up to win quite a bit of races at Belmont Park over the last couple of years. And if you look at the success that Belmont has had in the Triple Crown, obviously last year put up in the Derby with Country House at 65-1, won the Belmont in 2010 with Drosselmeyer at double-digit odds, nearly won the Belmont with Vision and Verse, who was close to 30-1 that day. It's typically long shot price horses that Belmont does his best work with. And Modernist, I think, is a very interesting horse at 15-1 in the morning line.
And that's Chris Fallica. And you can follow him on Twitter at Chris, Fallica. Marco, any agreement or rebuttal, or do you have a long shot yourself?
Well, I've got a memo to myself. Don't let Chris go first anymore. Oh my God, you stole all my thunder.
Sorry.
No, wow. I'm glad we landed on the same long shot. I'm all over Modernist in this race, and it's all about the last race that you talked about, the Louisiana Derby. I mean, you go back, and I'm a guy that I'm a trip handicapper. I'll read the racing form, but the racing form doesn't tell you the whole story. You got to watch the race, and if you go back and watch that race, as Chris said, he drew the 14 post, but more importantly, he was 4 and 5 wide the entire race, and he raced on gamely in that race to finish third. And if you remember, in deep stretch, New York Traffic came right out and swerved right in front of him, causing him, to grab just a little bit. He wasn't going to be second, but any other horse would have just quit at that point. And this horse still grinded on to the wire to finish third. And I think, because of the 4-post position, the fact that the 3 is not much of a horse in this race, and we know the 2, Sole Volante, has no gate speed at all, this horse is going to get away good in here. Of course, Tap It to Win at the rail will break. I think he's going to be sitting in a 2-path in this race and have a great spot. He does have speed. He just couldn't get to the speed in the last race because he had the 14 post. I mean, when they hit the turn, he lost all of his momentum. He was 4 or 5, wide at that point and getting kicked to the outside. I think he's sitting on a big race, and I like the fact that as a bullet on June 14th, he breezed 5 furlongs in 59-2. And all along, Mott was not pointing to the Belmont. They made a game plan switch because the horse is feeling so good right now. And to me, I respect Bill Mott. He's one of the old timers. It's hard to say, the old timer, but that's, where we're at. He's been in the game as long as I can remember. And he doesn't do things like that if he doesn't think he's got a big shot. And I love him at 15-1.
All right. Great stuff. Love to hear agreement on that. Hopefully his odds don't drop too much with a couple sharp folks like you guys on the same horse. And that is Marco. You can find him on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. So without giving up too much information, Marco, what's your strategy here on playing this race?
Well, anytime you're in a Triple Crown race like this, we talk about it every single time. There's going to be an inflated pool. And this year, this is basically the Derby because this is the first of the Triple Crown. And everybody's jonesing for action, okay? And we've seen it in the handles during horse racing. at the tracks that at the very top of the show, I told you how Will Rogers Downs and Fawner Park set record-setting handles day after day because they were the only game in town. Well, you're going to have everybody betting the Belmont on Saturday, and there's going to be people betting that don't know what they're doing. And unlike sports betting, we talk about it every time we do this podcast, but if you've got new people listening, the term dead money never applies more than in horse racing and big races like this, because there's people betting that don't know what they're doing. They just want to be part of the party, the event, whatever. And in sports betting, you're betting against the house. Here, you're betting against everybody else that's betting in horse racing. And the more bad people that are betting, that's more money for us, and it inflates the pool. There's a bigger pie to take a slice of. So I will make my wagers a lot larger for this one race because of that. And I'll go back to, a few years back when I hit a big trifecta exacta. We crushed the Kentucky Derby. I bet $390 in that race with all of my exactas and tries and everything because of that. And we brought back $9,000 that day. It's just because of an inflated pool. And that's what I'll be doing here. I'm going to be playing exactas. I'll be playing tries. I'll, have stuff with, pick fours involving the 10th race, rolling pick threes, all of that stuff where there's inflated pools you want to be a part of. The superfectas, get in there, on the superfectas. It's a chance to make big money for little money. And that is something everybody loves.
Well, there you go. It's kind of like having that big party in college, charge a big cover charge, and when the beer's gone, you kick everyone out, right? So, I never did that in Madison, though, not me, myself. So
come on, don't bullshit me.
Anyways, Chris, any strategy on this one?
Yeah, it's similar to how Marco is going to approach the race, and I'm going to wind up keying Tiz The Law first and second in my exactas, tries, and superfectas. And I think the key to try and making some money in this race is to beat Dr. Post and Solo Volante for second. I mean, they're going to be the second and third choices in the race, maybe even like second choices. So if you can beat those two horses in the place spot and Tiz The Law wins, then you're looking at a little bit better payout. So I'm going to use Tiz The Law on one spot in my try. Then I'm going to use the horses we discussed about, Pneumatic, Modernist, and I'm going to throw Max Player in there from way off the pace as well. Rosario rides regularly at Belmont. He's had a bunch of exacta finishes with horses at double-digit prices in Triple Crown races. So I'll throw Max Player in there. So I'll use Tiz The Law with Max Player, Modernist with Pneumatic in another spot, and then essentially a modified all-button in the third race, just in the third spot rather, throwing out Jungle Runner and throwing out Foreleft and putting the other, six horses that would be left after that in that spot.
The almost all button. I get that one.
Exactly.
I think
modified all.
I used the almost all button last year's Belmont, and I think the only horse that hit third was the one. And I remember that perfectly. And I was like, hit a nice exacta though. Well,
I'd rather not remember last year's Belmont. It's funny because usually this Belmont Stakes, people always talk about like my favorite betting days. And typically, the Derby or the Breeders' Cup, the traditional Belmont card has always been my favorite day to bet. You got the Met Mile, you got the Manhattan, the big turf race, a whole bunch of great stakes races. And following the NYRA tracks, I always felt like I had a really good edge at Belmont Park. But then last year was easily the worst Belmont day that I've had in a long, long time. And I blame that from having to handicap the card at an airport hotel in France and then fire my plays in the following morning before I got on a plane to land about 20 minutes before post time at Belmont. So hopefully this year I'll do a little bit better.
You couldn't make it on the Oddsbreakers podcast for that one last year. The other that was
there's the real reason.
Well, the good stuff, man. Real quickly, Is there any other races you want to throw out to talk about? Any other horses that you might want to give our listeners?
As we said earlier, I'm looking forward to the Acorn Stakes and the 3-year-old fillies and see what Gamine does after the positive test scenario. We haven't seen the second sample yet, and that, but a lot of pressure on Bob Baffert, I think, for this horse to run big, and I'm curious to see how that race goes. So, if you get the favorite beaten, there's a chance for a nice payout there. So it's a very interesting race. That's the one that intrigues me.
Yeah, I think there are two amongst the graded stakes races that interest me in addition to the Acorn. I think the Wonder again is an interesting race. I think Sweet Melania looks like she has the pace and edge to the lead to herself if she wants it. But I can make a really good case for Selflessly in that race. Surprisingly, she's a third choice at 5-2 on the morning line. She won the Miss Grillo here at Belmont last year. We talked about bad trips, bad posts. She lost her Breeders' Cup race on the post draw, drawing all the way outside. I think off the layoff with a more compact field. Chad Brown at Belmont. I think Selflessly at 5-2 on the morning line is worth a look in the Wonder again. And then Marco also alluded to people who have no idea what they're doing and dead money in the pool. I think if you look at the Hyper Stakes, the Turf Sprint there, the race right before the Belmont, I love horses, and I'm sure Marco does, that horses that enter in races that are going to take money and have no chance to win. And we have that in the Hyper and Hidden Scroll. This horse was a buzz horse last year after a win in the slop at Gulfstream, crushed the field, huge buyer, and was everybody's darling. And he has done absolutely nothing yet except burn money. And he's in the Hyper, a stakes race on the turf. I don't think he has a chance in the world. He's 8-1 on the morning line. I'm sure he's going to get bet because he's that high on the morning line. I think the 5-horse Stubbins in here for Doug O'Neill was so much the best in the Daytona. Got kind of pinned in on the rail, couldn't get out until it was too late. O'Neill ships and wins at Naira tracks quite a bit, and I really like Stubbins here. And 3-1 is what he is on the morning line. So hopefully we can get something close to that price.
All right, then. Well, that is some great information, Chris. We will definitely be following you on Saturday here and kind of seeing what you're up to. Where could people find your column?
Well, the column will be up on ESPN.com probably at some point on Friday, and then I would think throughout the day on Saturday for sure. I'll have some opinions on some of the other races at Belmont and maybe Churchill and Santa Anita and Gulfstream as well if I've got some time. But people know where to find me by now. I'm a Twitter handle, and I'll try and get back to you if you've got a question. But I'm just looking forward to sitting home and taking it all on this weekend.
Me too, and you do a fantastic job getting back to people. You're a very busy man with your thumbs, so it's great that you share so much information with people like that, and you take the time to do that. So we all really appreciate that, and Marco as well. And Marco's plays have been absolutely fantastic because I've been seeing them and playing them myself. So Marco, where can people get your great information and analysis for this weekend?
Well, every Friday, let them check out, we do a show, The Pony Pundits, myself and my buddy Sig Las Vegas, and we talk about the big stake races of the weekend. So obviously we'll be talking about the Belmont Stakes in detail, and we always give out a free pick 4 wager, and we'll be doing the pick 4 from Belmont on Saturday. So tune into the show on Friday for that. And then, of course, for all of my detailed betting strategies, you can go to Wager Talk and check out. I do a sheet on all the weekend. Normally, I cover Santa Anita. And Santa Anita's been what little hair I got left is frustrating as hell because they're getting 5 and 6 horse fields, and I just don't. If I had a horse race now, I would be sending it to the West Coast because the racing you're going in small fields for nice money. I would be looking at it, and Del Mar's trying to solve that. If you've seen what they're doing with their ship and win program this year, enticing people to come out there. But I will have coverage of both Santa Anita and the Belmont races on Saturday, so you can check that out. And just to add to that horse you talked about, Stubbins, Chris, we think alike. When his last race was over, I immediately added him to my virtual stable so that I would get the notice next time he raced because of that trip that he got in his last race. He was tons the best in that race.
Well, all I know is this: if Stubbins and Modernist crack the exacta on Saturday, there are going to be a lot of happy people out there, including us.
Well, there you guys go. We are out of time, but thank you so much to both of you for coming back on the show. Learned a ton as usual. Make sure you guys check out Marco's plays, check out Chris's column on ESPN. Have a great weekend, you guys. Don't shy off on having a cocktail in the pool or anything. It's going to be a fun one.
Thanks, Kev.
Everyone, thanks so much for listening. Remember, if you enjoyed the show, please rate and review on your iTunes or Google Play or any platform that you get the show at. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the Belmont Stakes and go get some winners.